They said she was your remedy. But what if she was merely discovering how to manipulate your injuries? What if the woman you adored was never truly there? Not because she deceived you, but because you only saw what you required, and she provided it flawlessly. This isn't about animosity, it's about reality, a reality that will incinerate the fairy tale. But if you're prepared to halt the pursuit of fantasies, then listen, for this might be the most crucial awakening you ever experience. The illusion you succumbed to as a young boy. They began narrating tales to you, tales that sounded enchanting, tales that felt secure, tales that molded your entire perception of love, women, and yourself. They told you women were magical, that they were tender, nurturing, brimming with affection, that they were the gentle light in your tempest, that their hearts could mend you, that their love was something pure, something you had to merit. They portrayed her as an angel, the reward at the end of every tale, the one who would make your life complete. And in every one of those stories, you were just one thing, the man who had to conquer her. You were the pursuer, the giver, the one who battled dragons, worked tirelessly, and sacrificed everything just to be selected. That notion wasn't confined to movies or fairy tales. It was ubiquitous in your home, in your school, in your culture, in the way people discussed love. They made you believe that your worth as a man hinged on how much you could offer a woman, and because everyone around you believed it, you did too. You thought, if I'm strong enough, kind enough, successful enough, she will love me. And when she does, then I'll feel complete. But what if that narrative was never genuine? What if it wasn't just a sweet falsehood, but a snare? What if that version of love wasn't designed to empower you, but to dominate you? What if the woman you loved wasn't actually a missing fragment, but a reflection of something you didn't comprehend within yourself? Here's a harsh reality. You didn't fall in love with her. You fell in love with the concept of what she could bestow upon you. You saw her as your remedy, your solace, your purpose. But did you truly see her? Or were you merely pursuing the version of her that helped you evade your own suffering? That's the illusion. You believed she was the solution to your emptiness, that her love would make everything coherent. But in reality, you weren't chasing her. You were chasing yourself. The version of you that felt complete in her presence. And that's the onset of your blindness. Because the moment you think someone else possesses your worth, you cease to see clearly. You don't see the real person in front of you. You see a mirror. A mirror that reflects your deepest needs, your hunger, your fear of solitude, and that mirror will show you what you want to see. Until one day, it doesn't. And when that day arrives, when she stops giving you that reflection, you don't just feel heartbreak. You feel lost because the woman didn't vanish. Your sense of self did, what Aristotle perceived that you didn't. Aristotle wasn't a man who attempted to make things sound beautiful. He didn't adorn his thoughts with sweet words. He didn't try to make people feel good. He observed the world as it truly was, without filters, without fantasy, and without fear of judgment. He studied nature. And what he saw was something most people today still aren't ready to accept. He said, "The female is a mutilated male." Now wait, that sounds offensive. It sounds cruel. But if you pause and actually look deeper, you'll realize he wasn't insulting women. He was describing a truth that no one else dared to articulate. He wasn't saying women are broken. He wasn't saying they're inferior to men. He was saying something far more uncomfortable, that nature designed women differently, not based on emotions, not based on feelings, but based on function. Nature doesn't care about your love songs. It doesn't care about your romantic movies. It doesn't care about how soft you think she is. Nature only cares about survival. And in nature, everything has a role, a purpose, a strategy. Aristotle observed this and saw something simple but powerful. Men are built to create, women are built to adapt. That's not good or bad, that's not praise or judgment, it's just biology. And biology doesn't ask for your permission. But here's where it gets serious. Most men build their entire self-worth on an emotional fantasy. They tell themselves that if a woman loves them, then they are finally enough. They chase her approval. They change themselves to be chosen. They measure their manhood based on how she reacts. They think this is love, but it's not love. It's a lie they've been taught since boyhood, a lie that says she completes you. But Aristotle never believed that lie because he saw something most people can't stomach, that men are not meant to be completed by women, and women are not these perfect angels sent to save us. He saw that a woman becomes what she needs to be, not to fulfill your dreams, but to survive her world. So here's the hard truth. If you build your entire identity on being loved by her, if you believe that your value comes from her attention, then you're not living as a man. You're living as a reflection of what you think she wants. And that's not strength, that's self-erasure. Aristotle didn't say these things to tear women down. He said them to wake men up. Because once you understand that love is not always what it seems, you stop looking for someone to complete you and you start building yourself from the inside out. Her softness is a strategy. You think she's soft, you think she's kind, caring, gentle, and maybe she is. Maybe sometimes it's real. But here's the part you're not seeing. That softness might not be her nature. It might be her strategy. Not always because she's trying to trick you, but because that's how she's learned to survive. Women don't grow up with power the way men do. They don't walk through the world feeling in control. They grow up watching, learning, adapting. They figure out quickly they won't win by force. So instead, they learn how to win by shaping. Shaping their behavior, shaping their voice, shaping their emotions to match what you want. And if you're the kind of man who craves love, who wants to feel needed, who's looking for softness to fix your chaos, she feels that. She senses your hunger. And then she becomes the version of herself that satisfies it, but only just enough. She gives you warmth, but never full safety. She gives you attention, but always keeps a little distance. She gives you hope, but never certainty. Why? Because full security makes you stop chasing. And the moment you stop chasing, her power over you weakens. This isn't always something she does consciously. Sometimes it's just instinct. Sometimes it's how she's wired. But the result is the same. She doesn't need to argue with you. She doesn't need to yell or dominate. All she has to do is reflect your deepest emotional need. Your need to be seen. Your need to be accepted. Your need to feel loved. And the moment she reflects that, you fall. You think it's love, but it's not love. It's dependency. You've mistaken emotional comfort for emotional truth. You've mistaken performance for presence. She hasn't taken control of you. You gave it to her because she made you feel something you couldn't give yourself. But here's the danger. If her softness is a response to your needs and not a reflection of her true self, then you're not in a relationship. You're in a game of emotional survival, and she's already 10 moves ahead. Evolution in a dress. Men built the world with steel, war, and rules. They created systems, governments, armies, businesses. That was their power. But women, they didn't have the same tools. So they learned to survive differently. They didn't use strength. They used strategy. While you were out chasing goals, chasing status, chasing her, she was watching you, studying you. She saw things you didn't even know you were showing. The way your voice changes when you're nervous, the way your eyes move when you feel unsure, the things that make you feel small, the words you want to hear the most. She doesn't need to overpower you physically, she just needs to learn how your emotions work. And she does quickly. That sweet compliment she gave you wasn't always kindness, it was a test, a way to see how deeply you needed her approval. That moment when she said, "I love how open you are," it wasn't just love. It was a calculation, a way to find out how much of yourself you're willing to hand over. She doesn't want your soul, she wants your pattern. She wants to understand your emotional map so she can use it not to destroy you, not to be cruel, but to make sure she stays in control without you realizing it. Because once she owns your emotional pattern, she owns your decisions, your self-worth, your thoughts. She owns you. That's not love, that's evolution. And evolution doesn't care about feelings, it only cares about survival. The hidden exchange you never saw. You thought what you were building with her was love. You opened up to her. You told her
your secrets. You gave her your attention, your time, your energy. You even gave her parts of yourself that you didn't give to anyone else.
You thought that was intimacy, you thought that was connection. But here's the truth, you weren't building a bond, you were handing over power, slowly, quietly, piece by piece. And she didn't even have to ask. You gave it willingly because deep down you believed that being open would make you lovable, that being vulnerable would make you enough, that sacrificing parts of yourself would make her stay. But all you really did was shrink. You shaped yourself into a version you thought she wanted. You cut off parts of your truth, your strength, your opinions, so you wouldn't lose her. You called it being a good man, but it wasn't goodness. It was
self-erasure. And now when she pulls away, when she goes quiet, when she loses interest, you don't just feel sad, you feel empty. Why? Because the version of you that existed through her love is now gone. She didn't break you, you broke yourself,
trying to fit into a shape you thought would be loved. And that's the painful part. Not that she left, but that your identity, the one built around her gaze, left with her. You gave her everything except your boundaries. And now you're wondering why you feel like nothing. She didn't change. She just stopped pretending. You tell yourself, she changed, she became cold, she stopped loving me. But what if that's not true? What if she didn't change at all? What if she just stopped pretending? In the beginning, she gave you attention. She acted sweet, soft, loving. She seemed perfect, like she truly cared about you in every way. But over time, something shifted. She became distant. She didn't respond the same. She didn't look at you the same. It felt like the warmth disappeared and you thought, what did I do wrong?
Why is she like this now? Here's the hard truth. She didn't suddenly grow cold. She didn't fall out of love. She just reached a point where you were no longer useful, and that's when the performance stopped. Because in many cases, what you were
getting from her was never the real her. It was the version she gave you to keep your attention, your energy, your effort. It wasn't evil, it wasn't a trick, it was survival. You say she used you, but look deeper. What did you use her for? Did you want real connection, or did you want to feel wanted? Did you love her for who she really was, or for how she made you feel about yourself? Was she your partner, or your escape from your emptiness? Because maybe the truth is she didn't lie to you. You lied to yourself. You imagined her as your peace, your purpose, your answer. You saw her as your home. But the truth is, she was just a reflection. She gave you the feeling of being valuable. And when she stopped giving you that reflection, you felt like everything collapsed. But it didn't collapse because of her. It collapsed because you built your identity around her approval. Burn the myth. Reclaim yourself. And now here you are. The story is over. The mask has fallen, and you're left alone, staring into a mirror you've avoided your whole life. And for the first time, you're starting to realize something you didn't want to see. You never truly loved her. You loved the idea of her, the version you created in your mind, the fantasy that made you feel complete. You didn't see the real woman. You only saw the parts of her that made you feel needed. And now that she's gone, you don't just miss her. You miss the version of yourself that only existed when she was near. She was your meaning, your motivation, your emotional oxygen. Without her, you feel lost. But listen carefully. This pain, you feel it's not heartbreak, it's exposure, it's the shock of seeing your true self. Without the illusion, without the comfort, without the mask, you're not grieving real love. You're grieving the lie that made you feel alive. So now you have a choice. You can keep chasing the fantasy, you can keep trying to find another woman to fill that emptiness, to give you that same rush, to reflect that same false sense of worth. Or you can stop, breathe, and start doing something far more difficult. Start building yourself not as a man who needs to be chosen, but as a man who chooses himself. Because only when you let the old story burn, only when you stop needing a woman to define you, can you finally begin to know who you are without her. The awakening. There comes a moment in every man's life where everything shifts. It's not loud. It doesn't happen in a fight. It doesn't happen with screaming or tears. It happens in silence. It's the moment you stop needing her to tell you that you matter. The moment her approval no longer decides your worth. The moment her attention stops. Feeling like oxygen, that's when everything begins to change. Because in that moment you take your power back. You become strong in a different way. Not through control, not through chasing, but through stillness. She doesn't know what to do with that kind of stillness because it's not the version of you she's used to. You're not begging. You're not folding. You're not bending your truth just to keep her close. You're just standing there, solid, grounded, whole, and she feels it. She'll test you. She might pull away. She might push your emotional buttons to see if you'll react like the old version of you. But if you stay calm, if you don't chase, if you don't break, something new happens. It's not romance. It's not fantasy. It's not the story you were taught to believe. It's truth. It's connection without pressure. It's love without fear. It's intimacy without playing a role. But here's the
catch. You only reach this place if you're brave enough to let the illusion die.
You must let it all burn. The perfect image you had of her, the lies you told yourself about what love is, the story where she completes you and saves you from your emptiness. You must destroy the pedestal you put her on. She's not your savior. She's not your enemy. She's not your lost half. She's just different. She's not a mirror for your fantasy. She's a human being, complex, real, unpredictable. And only when you stop needing her to make you feel whole can you finally meet her honestly. Not as someone who exists to fill your emptiness, but as someone who stands beside you, not above you,